Hi, everybody. It's October 5th, and I meant to do this earlier. Um, October is, of course, the best month of the whole year because we have both Canadian Stave Off Scurvy Day, aka Thanksgiving. But I call it Stave Off Scurvy Day so that we can avoid the racism and just, go back to what it was intended to do, which is a harvest feast so nobody died. Um, and also, of course, my favorite day of the year, and probably yours if you're watching this. They're trying to say Thanksgiving, Christmas, and blah all the same time, but no, Halloween. Halloween is obviously the best day of the year, even when I have to work. So, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to continue what I started last year with FALLOWEEN. Yay, FALLOWEEN! And I'm going to continue trying to read through the NPR list of 100 greatest horror novels and stories. So to kick things off, this week I read The Great God Pan by Arthur. Now, if he was German, it would be Machen, but I think it's Machen. Arthur Machen was a Welsh author, and he believed in mysticism. And the Wikipedia entry says that his view of mysticism led to sex, death, and transformation, sometimes all three. He was deeply mistrustful of science and reason and the sort of enlightened views of his time. So, I'm going to be upfront. I really didn't like this one. I'll give it 2.5 stars out of 5. I found it just a slog to get through. Although I did like the little twist at the end. I enjoyed that, but I thought it just took entirely too much to get to. And it was everything I hate. It was just an uppity, prissy, rich white guy complaining about the poors. It was multiple frame stories. Oh, anyway, so it's a story of this guy, Clark, and he's writing a book. And he and a friend, a doctor, oh, what was the doctor's name? I can't remember the doctor's names. I think it was something like Dr. Raymond. But anyway, so the doctor takes him and he shows him this experiment where they have a girl strapped to a bed, they stir up her brains, and she kind of gets this fevered look in her eyes, and then she loses her mind. She doesn't die, but she's been lobotomized. He says, "Oh, she's an idiot, but she's seen God." And I'm like, if you press the right part of the brain, and this is another problem with the book, through a modern lens, yes, if you stir up the brains, you might actually touch something that, triggers that weird hallucinogenic part, but it's not real. And you're not actually seeing God or the mystic or anything else. You're just stirring up the person's brains, and you cause a lot of damage that way. So that's what these guys did. And then he, in the process of writing a book, this guy Clark, he talks about his friend, Mr. Herbert, who's now homeless. And homeless homeless Herbert, homeless Herbert met up with this woman named Helen, and Helen, ruined him. She disappears. She later reappears as Mrs. Beaumont. Oh, and I forgot that there's another letter about a little girl and these kids that knew Helen as a little girl. They were scared because she was playing in the woods with this mysterious naked man, which I suppose is supposed to be Pan. I don't know. It gets really confusing from there. So then Helen disappears. She reappears as a Mrs. Beaumont, and she starts going to all these orgy sex parties. And then they track her down, and it's Villiers. Who's Villiers? Okay, Dr. Raymond was the guy, or maybe he was Villiers. This is what I said. I didn't like this book, so I had a hard time figuring out who all these people were, because the reason I hate frame stories is that, as I've said before, horror is supposed to be immediate. It's supposed to be intimate. It's supposed to stir up your deepest, scary, it's supposed to touch that part of you. And the more removed you are from the action, the more removed you are from the emotion, you know, the less it matters. Okay, the less you feel about it. So anyway, so Villiers and Clark, they find this woman and they force her to kill herself. And then there's another damn frame from the Dr. Raymond who performed the experiment. And he's talking about this girl, Helen, that, played with the mysterious naked man when she was a kid. And it's heavily implied that Helen is the daughter of the girl that they strapped to the bed and made cuckoo. So, and Wikipedia says that the mysterious naked man was somehow Pan, but the impression I got was that it was Dr. Raymond all along. So, but I mean, I like that little sting in the tail. That was probably the only good part of the story, but it took way too long to get there. So, I think part of the problem was also that it was another one of those serialized stories, and that's why they take forever to get anywhere, because they're leading to something and then they stop in the middle of a scene so that they'll get the people to read it next week, and that doesn't work when you just want to sit down and read it. Now, on the plus side, it was only 43 pages. It's free on Amazon if you want to check it out. Now, it has been a very influential story because it does sort of touch on themes of, madness and that part I do like. Is the person crazy? Did this really happen? Is there something more out there in the world that we can't quite see? But every so often, the veil gets thin and we can touch on it. And then the other thing too is, the treatment of the sexually active woman. Like, oh no, she's going to be the ruin of men everywhere. Gotta punish her. So the only two real female characters, you have one strapped to a bed, made insane, and the other one forced to kill herself. Like, but it does. The one thing that I did see was that Revival by Stephen King, the ending of Revival, borrowed pretty heavily from this story. And I read it and I'm like, yeah, I know where I've seen this before. And then reading about the story later, yeah, that confirmed it. It was an influence. And it's had influence on other works like Pan's Labyrinth and Ghost Story. And it says it's supposed to be some kind of a caution against mistreating women, but the doctor, the Villiers guy, the Clark guy, none of them seem to have suffered any consequences. So I don't think that was the point. It really just comes down to, if a woman's sexually active, she has to be punished. Oh, and she must be some kind of complete deviant. So anyway, that was the Great God Pan. I mean, I'm not worse off for having read it, but I really didn't care for it that much. And it is FALLOWEEN, and I will continue to read some more of these NPR books, and I hope you're reading lots of great horror. Have a great day.